Hello, and welcome to the Uninet Quick Video Series. This particular video will cover the topic of importing American Express charges using the KR-1025 file format. For more information, please go to www.uninet.com. Let's begin. First, you can obtain the KR-1025 format from your American Express provider. You need to contact them and ask them to provide you your monthly transactions in the KR-1025 file format. This is a standard format that American Express can provide to you. Sometimes there is a charge for it, sometimes there is not, depending upon your provider and the number of transactions that you incur in any given time period. Once you've received the KR-1025 file format, it'll look similar to this, where you can see each transaction with its dollar amount, detailed information about the transaction, and the credit card number of the person that made the charge on the American Express credit card. In order to import the transaction into Uninet, the first thing that you'll need to do is turn on the credit card properties under Admin, Properties, Expense, General. You'll see here a link where you can enable the credit card functionality by checking a box. It will tell you here, if you expand the property, what this property is used for. It'll also link you to the help documentation, which describes all of our credit card functionality in detail. The credit card functionality, when enabled, will also provide inside the person profile a new link in the upper left-hand side that says credit cards. When you click here, you can add the credit card for any user or multiple credit cards for each user by placing the name of the issuing bank, the name on the card, the credit card number, expiration date, and the type of card. Uninet supports other credit card imports from non-American Express in a generic import format that can be covered in another video topic. Once you've entered the credit card number, you simply save or cancel, and you would do this for each person that holds a credit card with your company. The other new icon that you're going to see within the instance is an icon that says Imported Expenses under the Admin dashboard. When you click here, you will be able to see all of the transactions that you have imported into Uninet using any credit card import functionality. So let's go ahead and import the KR-1025 that we have here. In order to import the transactions, you simply go to Admin, you go to Import, you select the type of import, and you will see here that there is a credit card import for American Express. That is the KR-1025. There's also a generic credit card. If I select the credit card Amex, and then I simply select, I will tell the system exactly what import file format I am using. That is the default. What payment method you would like these transactions to come in as, which 90% of the time will be company paid or corporate card. Obviously, these credit card transactions are typically not paid by the employee. However, you can set that. You also can set in the property setting a number of days for which you'd like to purge records. So if I would like to purge all credit card transactions that were 90 days old or older, when I import this, I can have a setting set up in my properties to do that for me. I simply hit the import button, and I'll receive a pop-up that looks like this, which tells me that 20 records were purged, that everything came in as company paid, the file format I used, how many records were processed, and how many were rejected. So now I'd like to view those transactions. I can simply come over here to the Imported Expenses screen, where in the selection criteria I could pick any one person, any one imported vendor. However, in this scenario, I would just like to choose beginning of time to end of time for both of my selection criterias, and I would like to see things that are either available for an expense report, used on an expense report already, everything, or unassociated credit cards only. meaning the user does not have a credit card in their profile. When I do that, I click on the List button, and here I can see that there are other transactions inside of Uninet that have been imported that have been associated with vouchers. So there are some historical transactions that Al Roker and Matt Lauer brought in, someone brought in, and they associated with their vouchers, number 59, number 132, and 173. And down here I see the two transactions that I just brought in, and I notice that they're unassociated, which means that I brought them in, but the credit card number in the file did not match that of one of the existing users inside of Uninet. So I would probably go and validate and make sure that I entered the correct credit card number into the person's profile. Probably the easiest way for me to do this is to go directly into the KR-1025, copy the credit card number, and drop it into that person's profile. By doing so, the unassociated charges on the other screen should now have associated with that particular user. So if I simply come back here and I select the same date range with all transactions and list, I can now see that those two transactions are associated with Keith Hoffler. So what do they look like? If I were Keith and I were entering an expense voucher, or I'm an administrator entering one on his behalf, I would simply click on Add Expense Report, put in my purpose and location, the project or projects I wish to charge to, and when I'm inside my expense voucher, I have a new icon that's called Import. I can click on this Import icon, and I can see any credit card charges that had been brought in via the Amex KR-1025 and associated with my account. Here I could select to either import them or delete them. The delete is a property setting that can be controlled by the administrator so that only administrators can delete these credit card transactions if you wish. Otherwise, you can allow the users to delete them. I'm going to go ahead and choose them both, and I'm going to go ahead and choose an expense type that I'd like to associate them with. When I hit save, those transactions will come over onto my expense voucher associated with the expense type that I wish to select. In the detailed comments, you will see all of the information about the imported credit card transaction. One thing that I'd like to point out is with the KR-1025, if your transaction contained an exchange rate, for example, you made charges in another country and the exchange rate was listed in the American Express file, it will actually convert it in your wizard. So if you have a Uninet wizard associated with that expense type, what you would see here is the currency used, you would see the exchange rate to US dollars and the exchange rate. The other thing that I'd like to point out about transactions coming over via the KR-1025 is that credit memos do not import. So if your KR-1025 contains charges as well as credit memos, the file will still import without error. However, the credit memos will not be part of that imported file. So users can always run a list of all the transactions that they've associated, and they would always see out here on their import screen all of the transactions that were listed for them. Also, under the Expense tab, they also have a new button called Imported, where they can click, and just like an administrator, they can list all transactions for any date range, and when they do, they'll see all the transactions associated with them. As you can see here, when I'm logged in as Keith Hoffler, I can see all the transactions that were imported with me and what voucher they were selected to be used on. Thank you for attending the Uninet quick video series on importing transactions using the KR-1025. As I stated earlier, you can always get more information either from our help documentation by searching for American Express or credit cards, or you can go to www.uninet.com.